Firstly, let's take a couple of steps back. You'd recall that the president said, I think it was last year, that we need to make time as South Africans to talk about us, to talk about our values, about what is it to be South African, and really talk about our nation-building agenda. Since then, we have been working on various programs, working with communities, understanding how communities see our values, how they see what it means to be South African, what are the things that divide us, and what are the things that we agree on as South Africans. That entire process led to the document that was spoken about earlier on, which is going to be the main document for discussion at the summit. But over and above that, you'd recall that the National Planning Commission released a diagnostic study last year and actually touched on social cohesion and inequality as some of the problems that we've got, the challenges that we've got to address with urgency as a country if we're going to achieve the real fruits of our democracy.
So if we talk about social cohesion, though, what exactly are we talking about? What is your understanding of social cohesion?
Social cohesion, as you said, I like the
Wikipedia
the Wikipedia definition. But really, it is multidimensional. It talks about, firstly, about unity, nation building. It talks about building a nation in which we all have a stake. That, to me, is a good working definition of social cohesion. But a stake that people think is important for them to defend, a stake that people believe is important for them to advance and to reach out beyond the divisions that exist in society. But also it is about finding equality, reaching higher levels of equity within society, and a society that gives opportunity to everyone.
You know what I don't know, though, is whether or not we can actually start with social cohesion, or social cohesion is as a result of you doing certain things. In other words, you address socio-economic inequalities in society, therefore you end with social cohesion.
Well, in a sense, it is, Kolani,
it's the outcome of a process.
It's an outcome of a variety of processes.
Yeah.
Some of the processes are about service delivery, but some of the processes are about actually talking about things like values, talking about things that divide us, talking about things that cause tensions, talking about, how do we contribute towards the building of society? How do we create new opportunities for people to actually contribute towards the building of the South African nation?
And the reason why I'm asking that is because you then have skeptics saying, well, once you start talking about social cohesion, you're actually running away from the hard issues of deal with issues of inequality in society, deal with issues of racism, and the outcome will be social cohesion.
Well, in fact, it's part of the same debate. We have to deal with the hard issues of racism. We've got to deal with the hard issues of inequality. But in doing that, we've got also to deal about the future that we envision and how people participate towards it. Interestingly, after the minister spoke in Parliament yesterday, we have received numerous requests, people saying we want to participate, we want to find opportunities to participate in our communities as well as in the national process. So South Africans do want to participate. They want to discuss these things because they realize that whilst we are dealing with the difficult things, there's got to be an opportunity for us to participate in building this country.
And again, I may sound a little like a skeptic here because South Africans may want to participate simply to highlight to government that the reason why we do not have a socially cohesive society is because of A, B, C, and D. It's because people are hungry, angry, unemployed, HIV issues, and all the other issues that we have in our society.
It's true, but we've got to look at this thing in context. Those things are being addressed on a daily basis. Jobs are being created. Yes, there are difficult circumstances that we come across. Services are being delivered. Yes, there might be, dissatisfaction in different areas. But those things, that's a long-term project. It is happening on a daily basis.
All right.
But people are not waiting for all of those things to be in an idyllic situation before we can talk about a united nation. People want to build and want to contribute towards building that as we go along and addressing socio-economic problems.
Dr. Jobson, what is your take here? Do you think that there's space for us to discuss this as opposed to address the root causes of the lack of cohesion?
Kolani, I think this is a very critical time to be addressing this. There are many, it's one of our most important outstanding issues, to unite people on a social basis, on the basis of real relationships, not relationships of people who have and want to do for others, but in finding each other and what we can give to each other. And I think we're a nation that is not listening to each other. We're not listening to the poor people. Poor people find that members of parliament do not listen to them. We welcome this opportunity of the Summit on Social Cohesion that's coming. And we think that there is really a crisis of unresolved issues which the DG has spoken about, where the people's dignity has not yet been restored to them. And there are ways in which we can do that, not for people, but with people. The divisions, I think, are still widening. This is not an exercise that can be done from the top down. I mean, we built our democracy from the ground up. The people did it every day in standing up against apartheid, subjugation, and oppression. And I think we need to build it in the same way. And we need to have spaces where we can truly listen and learn from each other and not think we have the right answers. What I think the DG was saying, where we become real equals and we can confront these very, very difficult gaps that are widening. The lack of access to opportunities is a particular one. There's no shortage of incredible passion and vision amongst people to do things, but somehow our system is constraining us from achieving it. And sometimes it's the politics that prevents us from achieving it, rather than us as people doing it for ourselves. So I think this is a very important discussion.
Sure. Davi, in the email that you wrote to us after our chat with Archbishop Desmond Tutu, was that you said that you think people must get involved in practical ways, and that there are ways in which you are practically getting involved. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, I was actually very touched by that conversation, very emotional as well. And I realized that there were so many of my fellow South Africans that are still struggling with healing, still struggling with dealing with forgiveness and bitterness and stuff like that. And I'm sitting, kind of comfortable in my little home there in the East Rand. And, we are so separated. And I've got this huge desire to actually be involved with just providing and working with people that are struggling with healing. And, there's a saying that says you don't have to be wrong to repent. And I get very emotional about this because I believe that there are so many South Africans still working with bitterness and healing about past issues, and we just carry on. And there's no, place for, as the previous Dr. Johnson actually said, there's no place for us to get together and actually talk about these real issues. And so my email was in response to saying, I'm available. I want, as a normal, just, South African, want to be involved with, if there's some of my fellow South Africans that needs to have this conversation about apartheid and about the hurt of the past, to extend forgiveness, even though I'm possibly part of a next generation, but I still want to have that conversation and still want to be there for my fellow South Africans because I'm a part of this country. And so, yes, there's this frustration that we want to do this, but where do we do this? How do we get into this conversation? And so that was actually a cry for myself. I thought just today I'm not going to just sit and not do or say anything about this. I'm going to speak to the producer of this program, and I'm going to get on my email and say, please, guys, just give us some form of, a channel of where we can get involved in this issue, because definitely, to me, that's the heart of what's going on into our country. And we keep on leaving this and thinking, it's going to be great and it's going to work out. But in the meantime, we pass, these core issues, we don't address them. And I think that's the thing that's possibly keeping us from going to the next level in our country. And I, as a normal South African, want to be involved and want to have that place where I can be available and say, guys, as a white South African, I'm part of this country, but I want to be involved with the core issue of, getting past this thing of, the bitterness and the hurt of the past, and whatever that means for me to help a fellow South African, I want to be involved. For Darby, of course, and then F for Francois, Nordia@gmail.com. That's dfnordia@gmail.com, and I would look forward to responses. Yes, I would just like to say that, I cannot reverse the past or anything, but I'm not going to sit and live oblivious to what's going on in my country. I'm going to say I'm out there and I want to make a difference. And so if anybody wants to, if I'm needed or if I need to do anything, I'm going to be there and I'm going to try and do something. So not sit just on the sideline.
All right, thank you very much. That's Davi. Dr. Marjorie Jobson, your final comments for me?
Kulani, I really valued the beginning of this conversation. I think the answer is to start with the personal healing. I know that millions of rand that have been pumped into supporting cooperatives have not borne fruit because the people in the cooperatives have not resolved all the hurt from the past. So the cooperatives end up becoming fragmented and disrupted. And yes, the issues are economic, and we have in this country an opportunity to build different economic systems, alternatives, like solidarity economy opportunities, and I hope we will get there together.
Sure. Mr. Glava, your comments then, and also just broadly responding to the comments we've heard so far.
Sure. Firstly, Colin, let me say that the summit is open to everyone. We are targeting organizations, civil society organizations, business organizations, youth organizations, and religious organizations. That's who we are targeting, but it is not exclusive to anyone. It is open to everyone, and I will give our website where people can download the document. It's not yet on there, but it will be loaded by the end of this week. It's www.dac.gov.za. That's www.dac.gov.za. That's where people can get the document and as well as the details of the summit. But in fact, I've just taken Davi's email address because I would love to invite him to get involved also in community conversations that are happening across the country at localized level, where people are finding solutions to these problems at a localized level. And I think, Xolani, that is the important thing, that this is not just a once-off summit. It's not a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It's a systematic process in which we want to agree on action plans, monitor them, and evaluate them as we go along.